Nintendo 64 presents a Playguide and video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hey there, welcome to another Lemon 64 play guide and review. In this episode we'll be checking out Split Personalities, released on the C64 by DeMark in 1986. This game features 10 levels, and on the first level we'll find Ronald Reagan, you can see there, Margaret Thatcher, Neil Kinnock is supposed to be the yellow character, Clive Sinclair is there representing the ZX Spectrum, Alan Sugar is the one that looks like the Bee Gees there in the middle. We'll also find Humphrey Bogart, Charles and Diana, who were apparently delighted to be included in the game, as was Prince Andrew and Fergie. You can see a very poor rendition of Andrew and Fergie there. And we'll also find on level 9 Mick Jagger, who is not in that picture, and level 10 we'll find Marilyn Monroe. This game was originally created and designed by Ernieware, developed on the ZX Spectrum and released in 1986. It was originally created by Ruud and Ernest Pesky of the Netherlands there, of Ernieware, and that was converted and brought to the Commodore 64 by Mark Greenshields, who worked on Bombo in 1986 and moved on to 19 Boot Camp in 1988. The graphics, as you can see on the scroll, was created by Richard Naylor. You can see it on the left there, and he went on to The Living Daylights. And the music, you can see on the right, was created by David Whittaker. And of course, no introduction required for that. So that's the great loading screen and the great DeMark picture there. Let's load this up and let's check out this game itself. Title screen, we are delighted to hear some more great music, and we can even redefine the keys there. Another crossover throwback from the ZX Spectrum days. You can see the ordinary keys are listed on screen, and of course we can always use the joystick, although in this case the joystick may be a little too fiddly, as we are about to see. But let's check out that great music and let's hear that out before we play this game. Split Personalities is a tiles game, and you may remember tiles games before. The only difference in this tiles game is that sometimes you might get something which resembles a bomb, and that will remove a life straight away. If you don't remove all the bombs on screen straight away, then you'll remove an extra life, and you can just see I found 3, and that removed all our lives straight away. So just like Whizball, this game is very unforgiving, it seems, for beginners. Let's try again to get somewhere on this very first level, and as you can see, straight from the start we find yet another bomb, and there's precious little we can do about that, because the bomb will travel into that corner. We can only travel in a straight line in this game, so we can throw those tiles up and down, left and right, but we cannot throw diagonally, and we will gain a bonus if we throw 2 great tiles together. In the main, we find picture tiles, and you can see sometimes throwing extra tiles together won't give us any bonus whatsoever. A great tip is to put 2 blocks in the top right corner, and then when we press fire or that arrow, that will launch something onto the screen. If that happens to be a bomb, we can then chuck that out as quickly as possible. Hopefully these controls don't let us down, and unfortunately the controls did let us down in that instance. So here we go, we have now no lives in the bank and virtually no chance of completing this level. You can see by speeding this up there, the time is ticking down. We do gain a very hefty time limit, except when we do lose all our lives, we don't get virtually any time. And you can see all that time in the world doesn't give us enough time to put these blocks into order. So that's that level, and unfortunately I died. Back on level 1, let's try again. And a great tip is to find the bottom corners and at least the bottom row and get that planted on the bottom of the screen. If you can find the sides and the edges, that's a great thing. That means you can keep those to one side. And if you find any items from the top row of our picture, of course you can throw those out at this moment and come back to those later on. Any picture tiles which are thrown out of the maze using the bottom or the top trapdoor there, or the one on the left hand side, they will return to the random block cache which emerges from the arrow. And once you've got rid of all the special items, you can see 2 special items here. Again, by throwing 2 odd ones together, that won't give us anything. And if you manage to find a tap, that will drip onto those bombs and defuse a bomb. So if you find a bomb and a tap, it is still possible to defuse that thing. But for the main part, of course, those objects are to be avoided, and throwing those off the screen will mean they do not reappear. So those bombs will not reappear, and those stars and stripes flags, well, they're just there for a bonus. That should hopefully at this stage leave us with enough blocks on the screen to start manoeuvring. As you can see, I like to provide myself a little buffer zone away from those bombs, and if one bomb should stray out of that block, then we can simply fire that out of the arena. You may also notice a crack in the middle right, and random cracks will appear. If you throw a rock into those cracks, they will fire a streak of lightning out, and then we'll throw that thing to the opposite side of the map. So it isn't wise to do that, and you can see me blocking the bottom exit there to save any more items disappearing. Sometimes the items will pop out of the random generator at the top simply by wandering into that, but for the main you have to press fire, and to move these blocks around you have to hold fire on the block and then pull left, right, up or down to maneuver that block in the desired direction. And just like the block puzzle in Back to the Future Part 2, this is not easy, and even once we have got rid of those special bonus items, it's still a maze, and we still have to maneuver these things around the playfield to get them to where they need to go. You can see the map panel on the right will show us where they are. By hovering over that block, you can see that lights up on the panel. So you can see the bottom corners are completed, and it's always helpful to get those stars and those stripes in the right position because it's very easy to see where they go. Unfortunately, it's also easy to throw out a good piece, and again that will return to the random store, and we've just found another leaking tap there. Hopefully there won't be any more bombs to blow us up, and look at that, unfortunately there is. One life cube will now disappear from that bottom corner, meaning we have 1 life left and 1 in reserve. So we have theoretically 2 lives at this point. And so let's try and find, again, Ronald Reagan's bottom half of his chest, and then we can work our way up through the neck, and hopefully the face should be no problem. Now that we have a full restore of time, because of that death, it should mean that we can get through this level all in one piece. And you can see I'm throwing out some unimportant items just to give us some space on that board. And space is its premium in this game, and you have to see where those things appear and throw those into the right places as soon as possible. And this game does require some amount of forward thinking and juggling these things around. Even something straightforward like moving these stars into that top corner isn't particularly easy, and because you can only move those things up, down, left and right, of course we have to think ahead and we have to plan our maneuvers. And look at that, another important one thrown out of the arena. Luckily that will come back eventually once we skip through a few of these blocks, and again hopefully at this stage we've thrown all the bombs away. So that is the 4 stars found again, and so all we need to do is to build up the face. I remember back in the day I did get far in this game, but I'd never completed it. I maybe got onto the 4th level, and it's probably easiest to get through the first level on 1 life if possible, and if you have to use up a 2nd life that makes that level pretty easy. And you can really rack through these levels pretty quickly, but you have to be very nimble with those fingers to get a big movement going on. So you can see now the face is almost complete, and now we can see all we need to do is to get 1 more block into the right position, and that requires lateral thinking. So let's maneuver that, and that's the level over. By pressing fire, all those blocks will now disappear. Unfortunately, this game can play very unfairly, and as you can see it robbed a life entering that section, and it's also robbed a life thanks to that bomb, which leaves us 0 in the bank. I was about to say that's how you gain 2 lives and go on to the next section, but in this particular version I'm not quite sure why, but it takes a life every time you enter a new level, and that's that level over. Let's try again, and let's see if we can get any further with Margaret Thatcher. Once again, the bottom half of that picture is relatively easy. All we need to do is to find a number of microphones and a suit and tie. Fortunately, because we have 0 lives left in the bank now, it is virtually impossible to complete this level on just the 1 or basically 0 lives. But we will continue, we will persevere, and let's see how far we get. I think this game is slightly unfair because of those bombs, and it just does not give the player time to get rid of those, unless, as I say, you can find one of those taps. You can see in the top right corner, and then you can throw the bomb into the tap. But it isn't always possible to do that in the nick of time. You can see the time at the bottom does not give us enough time to complete a whole level end to end, unless we are really rushing through these levels like a maniac. So we have to really know how to play this game inside out if we want to get any further. And so I do have respect for this game, and I have been far in this game. I think it has charm of its own, but I find somehow, after all these years, maybe the unfairnesses seem to rack up. Certainly those bombs, I never realised that those bombs were such a problem. But you can see I'm trying to put 2 taps together. That will give us no score whatsoever, but that will get rid of those off that screen. Once again, I've built myself a buffer zone there, and then I can throw those bombs out, and we are at the mercy of those opening and closing doors. We have 1 chance to get rid of that thing, and if we do, that's fine, and if we don't, we are dead. And that is one of the unfairnesses, and so I can't help thinking that they could have made this a little easier. According to Mark Strachan, which is one half of Doe Mark, the other half is Dominic Wheatley, and according to Mark, the original name for this was supposed to be Splitting Images when they bought the license from the guys at Anywhere, but they could not use Splitting Images after the popular ITV show basically kicked up a fuss about that, and so DeMark dug their heels in until the last possible moment, and then they renamed Splitting Images into Split Personalities. And I guess Splitting Images would have been a more apt title, but you can see from those caricatures they really look a lot like the Splitting Image caricatures, and so it is pretty similar in that front, although I have to say it was nothing to do with the ITV production team, and so hence the name had to be changed. On the original demo created on the ZX Spectrum, it had 10 other characters, and apparently there is a version out there on the C64 with different characters in this game. Originally, Mark and Dominic were very impressed by a caricature of Kate Bush that was created by these guys for the ZX Spectrum demo. Unfortunately, Kate did not make it into the final release, and she was basically replaced by Alan Sugar and Clive Sinclair because they were part of the scene. And they did gain permission from all these characters, the ones that were still alive, that is. And it's surprising there are very few of these characters still alive, but it's great to still play this game. And you can see there I'm really struggling now to try to complete this level. Moving on to the scores. Commodore user gave this game 80%, Your Commodore gave it 80%, and Zap originally gave it 93% in 1986, which gives this an average score of 8.5 out of 10. So thank you for viewing another Lemon C64 game guide and review, and I hope you appreciate that I have got a cold at the moment, which I caught at the Play Expo last weekend. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you again in another episode sometime soon. Thank you.